And welcome back. It is the WXCO Morning Report, part of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on 98.9 WXCO. I am Chad Holmes, along with Ian Welsh. Ian, good morning.
Good morning, Chad.
Are you going to get one right today?
I certainly hope so. I need to get out of this rut.
You are in a slump to end all slumps with your number for the day quiz.
I certainly am.
It's hard to go 2 weeks in a row without getting one right. I'll tell you this much. I'll give you credit for that.
I'm trying too hard, or I'm not trying enough.
A guy that knows a little bit about wins and losses back in his days as the head football coach at Wausau East High School, but now is the leader of the Wausau School Board, the Wausau School Board president, Jim Bouche, back with us here this morning. And Jim, good to see you.
Good morning, Chad. It's good to be here. It's always nice to get back into the community after being on a little vacation. So, as we were talking about before, it's nice to be in one's own bed versus motels.
It certainly is. But it's glad to have you here because I haven't had you on in a while. I wanted us to get updated on. We're into the new school year, and it's there's some change within the Wausau schools with the elementary schools. And I wanted to ask you because, again, maybe I'm missing something, but it feels as though the changes that occurred with some of the closings and the changes with some of the students going to different areas, from what I'm gathering, it's gone pretty well. Would that be fair to say?
I think it'd be very fair to say it has been very smooth, and I'm going to give a lot of credit to our administration and central office for what they've been doing and communicating with the community and communicating with the parents, the students. Everybody knows exactly what's been going on. I think they've done a tremendous job. And matter of fact, not too long ago, I think last week when I met with Cale, I commended him on the fact that this has been more smooth than what I thought it would be. Because when you consolidate schools, and especially elementary schools, community members are not real happy about that. They want to keep things as it has been. And they're not happy, and usually superintendents lose their jobs. And even though it might have been needed to consolidate, the mantra is consolidate and then get fired. And that has not been the case with our administration. Cale has done a tremendous job communicating, and that's the key. Yeah. You and I have talked about the fact that if you're not going to communicate and communicate well, you're going to have problems, and those little problems become the big problems. And we have not had big problems because we've taken care of the little things. And Cale has been out there at the elementary level with school starting this past fall. He has been in the buildings, talking with parents, talking with community members. So I'm commending him on this because that is the key. Communicate.
Be in there. I mean, I think that is such a good point to be made because when change is hard, I think that's one of the things that you can talk about in any aspect of life, but especially when it involves the younger children. Right. And I think that to go through these changes and not have it blow back, besides the communicate, was there anything else here that for folks that may in the future, whether it's at the Wausau School District or maybe some other area school districts, anything that you've learned in this process that maybe you'll try to do in the future? Because I think there's one thing that is certain in this era: change is going to be constant in one way or the other. What did you find out maybe in this situation that was different than maybe in previous situations?
Well, I think you hit a key point right there. The one constant that we have in life is change. And you either adapt it and take it on, or you grieve about it, and you got to make a decision. But you have to help people. You have to help people understand why change is taking place. With this situation, we did a lot of things this time that I thought was right on. We brought in a demographer. We brought in community members to give their input, to explain to them what's happening with our enrollment dropping as it has, and helping them understand so that they could then get that information out to their neighbors and to their friends and things of that fashion. That helped. We had a lot of people involved with this. That's the key. So involvement, a demographer, a third person party that has no subjectivity to the change and why we're changing. That makes a big difference. And that has helped us in getting through everything. So I would say those three items really is.
You mentioned Cale Bushman, and I think I would agree with your sentiment in terms of what I've heard is that it's not easy to, even within somebody, and I think it's a big advantage that he knew the district, like he did know the district, but to move into the new position, it looks as though, again, that the relationships that he has had and that he's continuing to build has been a key to the, again, the success that he's had early on. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. And understanding the community is a key. You and I have talked about that in the past as well. If you don't understand the community, how can you help move the community forward? You have to know a little bit of the history. You have to know, how did the community get to where we're at right now so that we can get better for the future. So as we look at all of this, and I want to reflect a little bit back on the idea that, change is going to continue. And I keep on echoing that, because our enrollment is not going to become constant either. That's going to continue as we look at the demographers' reports. It's going to continue to go down, even though we've consolidated 4 elementary schools, with the one being redirected into a different area with 4K. We're going to see the enrollment drop even more. And so we're going to have to be ready to make some tough decisions in the future. So this is going to be a step forward to move forward so that we are ready for the future, and not all of a sudden, oh my gosh, what happened? The little things in the present become your big things tomorrow.
It actually jumps into the next question I was going to ask, because you mentioned the demographer a little bit earlier, and the demographics, excuse me, and that they don't change. It's a very difficult balancing act, I think, at times, to try to be proactive and yet not be too quick on the triggers in terms of the change, and knowing that the demographics are continuing to change at all levels within the Wausau School District. How do you try to balance that out? Because we've seen, I think, where if there's a sense that it's moving too quickly, then you get a little bit of a backlash. But if you don't move quickly enough, then all of a sudden you get yourself into some very difficult situations, both in terms of the economics that are at play and other issues. How do you try to balance that foresight without maybe going too quickly and maybe agitating some folks within the community as well?
Well, I think that's a good question. And I truly believe that when you look down the road, you need to take a step back to find out where you're going to go. You don't want to be walking into a landmine or a landmine field or anything like that. You need to take a look at, how is this decision going to affect the decisions coming down the road as well? I don't want to correlate it always to athletics, but it's a good correlation and analogy.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, I knew you would be. But you have to make, as a coach, you have to make a decision right now, but you have to realize that this decision is going to affect the decision making for maybe 3-4 plays down the road as a football coach. So I will go back, and I don't want to be redundant on this, but communication is the key. And everybody talks about communicate. Well, what does that mean, though? We need to give data. We need to give facts. We need to give an understanding why this decision has been made here because of the facts that we had at that time, and be ready to make a change if change is needed to go some other way. Because even when you make a decision, next few steps might have to be decided on all over again. And we don't want to continue to do that. That's going to cost us money. So I want to just summarize that one is by saying, getting people involved, having people involved. We're elected officials, but we're elected to be in these positions based on people trusting we make good decisions. But going back and making good decisions is based on going back to the people that put you in this position and talk to them. Well, what do you need? What's best for our community as a total, and what's best for you as an individual?
Again, we're talking to Jim Bouche, the school board president, Wausau School Board, here on 98.9 WXCO. An issue that's coming up in the next meeting is the filling of a vacancy within the board. And before we talk about, specifics, I was impressed that there were 7 people that wanted to be part of the board, because we've talked in the past where there's been elections where you just had enough to fill everybody that runs gets a position, and that's not good, I think, for the democratic process. In terms of, you said it, I think the last time that you ran, hey, you're all for it because in a sense you don't have to do as much heavy lifting for the campaign. You can just focus on the job itself. But at the same time, you said it's good to be out there and talking about the issues and trying to persuade people to vote for you, that you do have the right vision for the future. Your take on 7 folks wanting to join the board? Is that a positive?
I think it's a great positive. We had, and unfortunately, in the preliminary meeting where we had to narrow it down to 4, I was gone at that time on my 50th anniversary cruise that we were on, my wife and I.
Well, I think you get that number. I think people would understand.
Well, thank you. But I was very closely in contact with everybody back here and understood all the people that were running. And I was just excited about the fact that 7 people that put their names in there, the quality of people that are wanting to run for school board excites me. And to have one selected to be brought onto the board will be an exciting time. So whatever 4 that we now have gets chosen, that one gets chosen to be on the board, we can't go wrong. That's how I look at it, because they're all good people and they're really interested in doing the right thing for our community and for our students and for our parents of the Wausau School District.
Well, based on that, it's not an easy decision.
No.
So how do you look at that as you sit down and try to think, what is the best for the board? What is the best for the everyone involved, whether it's the families, the students, the staff, and everybody that works for the Wausau School District? What are the qualities that, as you sit down and as you looked at these, for lack of a better term, resumes, and listen to what they have to say, that you're looking for in terms of choosing the best person to join you and the other members of the board?
Well, why are you running for the board? It's a very general question, but it's a good question because there are reasons why people run for school boards, and we would like to know that. And as we move forward with that, I got to step back one step here because of the fact that I know all 4 of the candidates. And
right.
For me, it's going to be even a tougher decision because 1 has been on the board. Mm-hmm. 2 have been students of mine. 3 have been students of mine. And so I'm sitting there looking, okay, who's the best? So that's going to be very difficult.
Whose feelings am I going to hurt?
And
which is I mean, as human beings, I mean, that's there, isn't there?
Well, there's the emotional attachment. There's no doubt.
You have to try to step away from it, though, right?
You do, and it'll come down to the meeting on Monday and asking the 4 questions that we'll ask of all of the 4 candidates, and the board is an 8-member board at this point in time. And there are 8 votes that will be coming in, mm-hmm. and I'm one of those 8 votes. So I can't go wrong in this situation because, like I said, I'm just going to step back and say, great people.
Looking forward at it, because something that I know that we've talked about, and I again would like to talk even more about this, is about the importance of throwing your hat in the ring and running. Is there going to be a change now for the next election, that there's going to be an additional person that's going to be voted in? Am I correct on that? That the person that is going to be chosen tonight at this board meeting to complete the term, will this now change the election at all this coming spring?
It does, to a point. You always try to keep your system. We have 9 members. We have 3-year terms, and every 3 years, the next threesome are up for election. So what this does is this person is being appointed by the board to fulfill this term. And then at the next election in the spring, instead of having 3 selected, there will be 4. And the 4th one will be then having to fulfill this term, mm-hmm. which then means that this individual will have to run again the following year, I think it is. And so that's how you stay on your system of 3 every year.
And I do think it's important that, and hopefully, and frankly, when I saw that, where there are going to be 4 people that are ultimately elected in the spring, my thought is, well, it's going to be hard to get 4 people running because, again, I think it is a little different where you apply for this position, going out there, it's not easy. And you probably know this as well as anybody that's run for office. For folks that, and I want to see a lot of people running in the spring. Why should they think about running in the spring for the Wausau School Board?
Well, I can only go off of and the reason why I decided to run for school board 6 years ago. It was because I wanted to give back to the community that helped raise my children in this area. And I was a proud employee of this district and wanted to continue to see this district be at the point and at the top of the curve of everything for the betterment of our students. And that's why I ran. And I believe that is going to be the driving force for anyone that runs for school board. The people that have an axe to grind or anything like that, we talk about that often with the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. Being the director of Region 5, we talk about, people should run for the right reasons. Not that you're angry at somebody and want to get back and get rid of that individual, but to do what's right for the community and your local control. And that's what we talk about a lot at that level. And in this level, at the Wausau School District, I would hope that everybody would be thinking the same thing. What can I give to the district that will help us move forward? And you have to be visionaries. I'm getting a little older as I get grayer and grayer on top, but I love looking at the future. I love looking at what's the next best thing, not what's the best practice, but what's the next best practice. And if you're in that mode, you're always going to be improving. And that's the excitement I have. And I would give to anyone running for school boards. And as I talk with many in Region 5 about the fact, this is an exciting time to be where we are. Let's make it a positive.
And before we wrap up, what are the issues right now that you and the rest of the board are looking at here as we now are into the school year? And of course, there's always issues out there. We had, I guess my question would be, we had a referendum that was not passed in the recent past. How has that affected the day-to-day operations? Because that's always interesting, because we go into these elections and say, okay, we feel like we need to have this referendum passed, and sometimes they get passed and sometimes they don't. Has that made a major difference right now with the work that you and the rest of the folks at the WSD are doing?
Well, I take a look at this, and referendums are questions. You and I talked about that. It's a question to the community. Are you willing to give a little bit more money to the district to help educate your students, our students in this area? If not, well, then we're going to have to tighten down in some other areas. And tightening down is exactly what has taken place with our financial people in the district. And I'm happy to say that we are moving into this next segment with a balanced budget. And that's the first time in years that Wausau School District has moved in without a debt, but have moved in with a balanced budget. That's exciting. And we were told by the district, by the community, that no, we're not going to affirm a referendum this time. But there could be a time down the road that we may have to go back to the district and say, guys, state level funding has gone down. If we want to keep our quality education, we need to come to you as a local control and do what is best for us in this district. So there's going to always be that question, Chad, and we just have to be ready to answer the questions.
That sounds like a big part of the job. And again, I really appreciate you stopping on by, talking about what's going on, and busy time, and good luck on your decision on who will be joining the board. Because again, as you said, I was very impressed to see the 7 folks that decided to step forward and serve their community. And that's such a positive thing. And I think that no matter who you are, you want to see the folks within our community step up. And I think that's, again, something that makes it maybe for a hard decision for you, but it's a good thing for our community.
It's a great community, and we have people that are willing to step up. And so I'm excited about that. Thanks a lot, Chad.
Absolutely. We'll talk again real soon.
All righty.
Jim Bouche, the school board president of the Wausau School District. We're going to take a timeout. I'll use a sports term right there as well, and come back with more here on 98.9 WXCO.
And we're clear.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well